Let's go. Hey, Big Hoss, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome in, my friend. Good to see you. Sorry about that. I know those redeems don't work on. They don't work on Thursdays. My apologies. Those are supposed to be turned off. But hello. Listen, guys. Here we go. All right, we're live on YouTube now. So listen, guys. So do you ever feel like you're stretched thin? Like you're just constantly busy, but at the same time you're not actually making progress towards anything. If that is you, then today is for you. It's for you. It's for me because that's me a lot of times. But today, yes, okay, good. Today is for you then because today I want to talk about not not just how to get more done, right? That's we It seems like that's the question that keeps coming up. How do I get more done? How do I get all this stuff done? But I want to talk about something deeper today. I want to talk about how to stop assigning yourself tasks and start releasing yourself into the kind of work and the kind of not just work, but the kind of relationships, the kind of purpose that you were actually built for. Because I've been thinking about this a lot lately here in the live streaming category. Summer's coming up. And it never fails, like clockwork. I don't know if you guys experience the same thing, but for me, when I look at the seasonality of my streaming business, every summer when we start to ramp up into summer, viewership dips, right? People go outdoors, they're not watching streams as much anymore, they're going on vacation, they're doing all this stuff. And every year around this time, I look at myself and I start questioning whether the effort is worth it, right? It's hard when when you see those numbers and they're kind of at a place and then they all of a sudden they just go through the floor, right? And you start asking yourself, am I actually doing anything that matters? Does what I do really matter? But I have to always keep something important in mind. When I'm just focused on the metrics, right, and on the tasks, right, I'm making sure that I stream on schedule and that I hit all of the right beats, right, I check all the boxes. What happens is I burn out really fast. But when I reconnect with the reason that I'm doing this in the first place, the kind of impact that I want to have and the kind of community that we are building together, the dips in the numbers don't mean as much. They don't shake me as badly. See, here is the problem that we have when we look at ourselves. We think about ourselves as a to-do list with legs. And if you've been burning out, there might be a reason for that, right? Because you're not here to respond to every fire. And the reason that you're burning out might not actually be the reason that you think. So today I want to talk about that. I want to talk about burnout. I want to talk about overwhelm. I want to talk about being stuck, the kinds of things that we normally talk about. But I want to start to focus it in this area because there's a trap that we get into, the trap of assigning tasks to ourselves. I always feel burnt out. Well, it's probably at least in part because of this, Kat. Most of our lives, we live in this response mode. We look at what needs to be done, and then we just jump into action, right? And so we see, we observe, or we have an idea of a problem, and then we immediately jump into action. Laundry, done. Emails, answered. Projects, started or finished, or it depends on how good you are at those things. Appointments, scheduled, survived. And the trick about this, the trap about this kind of responsive way of living our life is that it feels productive. It feels like we got stuff done. At the end of the day, we can point to a checklist and we can show that we crossed all that stuff up and it feels productive. But here's why it's not. Because that kind of life, that kind of responsive, reactive, and there's nothing wrong with using lists, right? That's not what I'm saying. Use lists by all means if that's a tool that works for you. And you swap to a whiteboard. That's good. I actually use a whiteboard myself. I like it. But the trick isn't the list, right? The trick is that when we just live by our lists, we don't create a productive lifestyle because we're not building anything that lasts. We're not creating anything that leads to our actual transformation. And what we do is we end up in this spiral of never ending, repetitive tasks. I use a spreadsheet to sort types of tasks. That's good too. There's a lot of good to be said about that. I can't remember his name. The guy he wrote the book called gosh, I think it's called Deep Thinking. But he talks a lot about different ways to plot out your day, and that's really important. But what I'm getting at here is when we just live and die by our to-do list, what happens is we get fatigued because we end up in a spiral where we cannot see anything beyond the immediate tasks, and that leads to drift away from your purpose. And if you've been watching me for any time at all, you know that finding your purpose, establishing your mission, those are things that are really, really important, right? Because assigning tasks to yourself, that keeps you busy. But what I want you to do is I want you to start thinking about how you release your capacity instead. Because releasing your capacity will keep you aligned. And again, alignment is everything in growth. It is everything in growth. I don't care about your productivity. Your productivity is important at work. You've got to be productive. Your productivity may be important in certain aspects of your life, but listen, when it comes to your personal growth, it's not about productivity. It's about alignment, right? So, I mean, if you think about it, right, you could spend 12 hours in motion. And then at the end of the 12 hours, you ever feel like nothing meaningful happened? All the time, right? Because what happens is your idea is not connected to your identity. You're busy, but you're not lined up with what matters. So if you've got something like that, like what's a task that you're doing right now that just continuously drains you instead of energizes you, right? What's something that you do because you feel obligated, not because of what it was made for? You could drop that in the chat. You can think it in your head, whatever it takes, right? But that's where I want you to be thinking about is what's a task or what are some tasks that we do because we're obligated to do them, not because they're what we were meant for. So clean the house, excellent, laundry, all these things, right? All these things, they've got to get done, right? But when do we find time? How do we find time to release our capacity? And what does it mean really to release capacity? It may not surprise you if you know me to know that it starts with asking better questions than you're asking, right? Because what's the question that we ask ourselves? Every day we wake up, I resonate with that. Every day we wake up and what do? What's the question that we ask ourselves? What is it? I'll tell you what it is. What needs to be done, right? Every day we wake up and the question that we ask ourselves is what needs to be done. But I don't want you to ask that question. The first question I want you to ask every day is what was I made to do? Now, you're going to look at me and you're going to say, Andrew, you're being altruistic. You're being idealistic. But am I? Am I? Right? Am I being unrealistic? Or are you living in the myth of the real world? I've talked about the myth of the real world before. And the myth of the real world is the myth that there are people out there who can do great things, who can be great things, but I'm not those people because I have to fill in the blank, right? It starts with this question. When you wake up, stop asking yourself what needs to be done and start asking yourself, what was I made to do? Because when you align your life around what you were made to do instead of what needs to be done, what you will find is you will find time for the things you were meant to do. I was just wondering what time it is and where am I? That's fair. That's fair. What was I made to do? Exactly. Hey, Emily, welcome in. It's good to see you. Is this meant to transform the way you think? Yes. Yes. It is. It feels like a bigger question, Patch, because it is a bigger question. But I want you to start with the big question. I don't want you to start with the little question. I want you to start with the big one, right? Because here's the thing. You can assign yourself anything. You can make up, a task list and assign yourself to stuff. But when you release yourself into work that fits your strengths and your wiring and your calling and your season of life that you're in and all that stuff, right? That is when you will change. And you've got to change. You cannot stay the way that you are if you want a better tomorrow. I was talking to a young friend of mine this week, and he was telling me, he was like, yeah, man, I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to get better. but I have all this stuff in my past that keeps coming up. I just keep thinking about these things in my past. They keep coming up. And I'm like, listen, here's the thing, my guy. You're not in control of what happened to you in your past. And as much as it feels like that's here now, it's not here now. What's here now is you. And you have control over this moment, but way more important than that, you have control of the moments that are to come. So that stuff that's in your past that keeps coming up, you got to learn to let go of that. Because you cannot move forward trying to live in that past space, right? Do we do that? We do that. Feels like that question gives you the purpose without it feeling like a repetitive motion day to day. Exactly. Because then you figure out, how does all this stuff in my day fit into my purpose, right? How does it fit into who I'm trying to become, who I want to become? And when you think about life through this perspective of what am I supposed to be doing, not just what needs to be done, but what am I made to do? You're gonna get more energy. You're gonna get your voice is gonna become very, very clear. You're gonna start creating things instead of just reacting. So here's an actual story from a coaching experience that I had. I like it. Good. I like it. That's excellent. There's something you got to take away from today. I was coaching somebody recently who was burned out, right? She was totally burned out. And she thought that she needed a break from work. Maybe new sleep, maybe a new job, right? She was actually thinking about getting a new job. But here's the thing. When we started having sessions together, we started digging deeper, and I started asking her questions. What we found out is that she was spending about, I would say about 60%, right? More than half of her time doing work that she could do, but she wasn't wired for it. It wasn't in her wiring to do that work. And she was drained, not because she was working too hard, because she was working hard, but this is a highly productive, a high performer. And she was not drained because she didn't know how to work hard. She was drained because her energy was spent in the wrong direction. And so what do? We shifted her responsibilities a little bit. We gave her a little bit more time in the creative and a little bit less in the management zone, right? And in a few weeks, different person. Same workload, same 9 to 5 plus schedule, 60 hours a week, maybe more, right? But all of a sudden there was a new excitement. There was a new energy that she had that she didn't have before. And the only difference was alignment with what am I made to do? I experience this myself all the time. A couple years ago, right? I was basically taking everything that I could, right? Every single little job and thing that I could. And if somebody asked, I said yes. And I was working hard. I was doing this little project over here and this audio thing over here. And I was, working with this production company over here. I was doing these things, right? And I was working harder than ever, but I was finding myself less fulfilled. And when I took stock, what I realized is that I was spending most of my time in my competencies, what we call my competencies, things that I was good at, but not things that I was meant to do. Right? Because the things that I was meant to do, that's where I'm exceptional. That's where I'm better. That's where, and I'm not, this is not a pride thing. I'm not saying I'm the best coach in the world or the best speaker or the best developmental thinker. I'm not thinking about those, but I know that I'm good at those things. I'm uniquely good at those things. And when I get to do those things, my energy is replenished, right? And I start to live my life like a person who's moving into the future. I started saying no to good things a couple years ago because by saying no to good things, I was able to say yes to the right things. Because, and I want you to hear this, you're not lazy. I'm not lazy by doing that, by saying no. Because it's not about escaping hard work, right? I know you're a hard worker. I know you can work hard. I know that I can work hard. I've worked in the theater. I've been up all night painting sets and gotten up first thing in the morning and gone to rehearsals and opened a show later that day and done 2 performances in a row. I've worked in Hollywood, woke up at 2 in the morning so that I could drive to a set 4 hours to go, 20 miles in Hollywood traffic. I know what it's like to work hard. You know what it's like to work hard. You got stories like that. You do it every day. Maybe you get up and you got a whole family to take care of, right? Maybe you wake up and you've got a whole workplace that you're responsible for. Maybe it's just school, right? You get up and you're like, man, I gotta do all this stuff for my classes. So you know how to work hard. I'm not calling you lazy. That's the last thing I'm gonna do. You know when you're lazy. We know when we're lazy, don't we? And we do something about that. We get off our butts when we're lazy. That's not the kind of people who are showing up to this. So it's not about escaping hard work. It's about choosing the right kind of work. So this is the thing, right? A lot of what I say sounds like I'm talking to leaders, right? Because I do. That's a lot of my audience is leaders, right? CEOs, founders of companies, high-level managers. A lot of the people that I work with, nonprofit leaders, a lot of people that I work with are leaders. And so you might be thinking, well, I'm not a leader. I'm not running a company or managing a team. But listen, here's the thing. The principles are the same. You don't have to be a CEO to be out of alignment. Bleach, what's going on? What to do about my alcoholic that doesn't listen to me? That's a really complicated, really complex question, Bleach. And by the way, welcome. It's so nice to have you. Your alcoholic father who doesn't listen to you. That's a really complicated question, right? And thank you for dropping into chat today. So the question is always that we're going to have when we come to things like that. For one thing, we got to remember that sometimes we need to get help that's from outside the situation, right? Now, I always like to tell everybody I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a licensed anything. That's not entirely true. I have some certifications. But the first thing we always have to recognize is when we're in over our head. And sometimes we need to get help. And even if those people that we love and we care about, if they're not able to get help for themselves, sometimes we need to learn to get the help that we need to sustain ourselves in that moment. Now, if you're in a situation where you're in danger or, where you're at risk of any kind, that's another thing that needs to be addressed. And I would highly recommend that you reach out to people who can help you. One of the tools that I like to recommend for people is 211. So if you live in the United States, everywhere in the United States, we have this phone number that's called 211. And 211 is a special phone number that's designed to help people in the community connect to resources. So if you don't know where to reach out, just pick up your phone and dial 211. Call them up. They'll help you. They'll get you the resources you need. But the other thing, Bleach, that I want you to remember in that moment, and it's going to feed back into what we're doing, right, is this. It's really important for us to remember in the moments when we are around people who are not living a healthy lifestyle, that as much as we love those people and as harmful, as much as it hurts for us to see them engage in behaviors that are harmful to themselves, that's not our life to live, right? I can't live my dad's life for him. Just like my kids can't live my life for me, right? So don't take someone else's problems into your identity because it's not your identity. Your identity is who you are now and who you're becoming. And I believe that everybody has greatness within them. So what I would say is, number one, reach out, get the help that you can. And number two, work on yourself, right? Make a pact with yourself that no matter what happens in this moment, that you're going to learn from it, that you're going to grow more, that you're going to become better, right? I love that. And by the way, Bleach, by all means, please reach out. If there's anything else that I can do to help, please connect with me. You can whisper me here on Twitch. You can find me over on YouTube. And we also have a Discord, !Discord. If you jump into that, you can direct message me as well. I'd love to help you in any way that I can. So, but here's the thing, right? Misalignment. Why do we get into these places? Thanks. I appreciate it. Hey, listen, that's what I'm here for, my friend. I'm here to help. That's my one purpose in life, is to help people how I can. One of the reasons we get into behavior like that, we get into self-destructive behaviors because of this misalignment, because we're out of this alignment with our purpose, right? And again, like I was saying, like you don't have to be a CEO. You could be a parent doing everything for everybody and forgetting what gives you joy, right? That's misalignment. You can be a creator, right? I know that a lot of you out there right now are content creators. You're in that space, you're creating content. You could be spending more time editing your life than expressing it, right? We do that sometimes. We spend more time on screen than we spend time really being ourselves, right? You can be a student who is checking every single box, but not actually asking what you care about, right? We assign tasks to ourselves, and that's just doing. But when you're releasing yourself into the work that's important, that's designing. So which one are you doing with your life? Which one do you want to do with your life? So I want to see it in chat right now on a scale of 1 to 10. How aligned do you feel right now with what you're truly built for? So give me a 1 to 10. How aligned, if you're watching on YouTube and on the replay, by all means, let's see that in the comments, right? If you're below a 7 on this, right, then I want you to start thinking about what's one area where you feel that misalignment the most, right? Stop asking hard questions. This is I don't know, Patch, if you knew this. This is what coaches do. They ask hard questions. Here's the other thing. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity in a little bit. If you are having a hard time determining what's most important in your life right now and how that lines up with who you are and who you want to become, I'm going to give you an opportunity in just a little bit to do that. So we'll talk about that. But first, let's get honest. Can we just get honest for a second? Because I know what some of you are thinking right now. Why do I know that? Because I know some of you. And I know that also I think this a lot, right? Some of you right now are thinking, what do you do when everyone needs something from you all the time, right? You might be the person who people count on. You might be the fixer, right? You might be the steady person, the one who always says, yes, I know that. Why do I know that? Because I have been that person most of my life, right? And guess what? Now you're exhausted. And in fact, you're not only exhausted, but you're starting to become resentful because a life unlived is corrosive. And so when you're just doing for everybody else, you become resentful. You might even become numb. You might get to a point where you just don't feel anything anymore because it's like it builds up a callus over your feeling. So I want to let you know. Stop calling me out like this. I'm calling you all out like this. Don't worry. I'm calling myself out, Emily. That's what I'm doing. I'm in the frequency of the challenger today. It's okay. But I want to shift frequencies. You don't have to carry everything that people expect of you. Let me re-say that. Let me say that again. I would love to have you write this down someplace. You don't have to carry everything people expect of you. It's not a requirement. Now, what you do have to do, what is your responsibility, is to be clear. This is your responsibility, by the way, not only to yourself, but your responsibility to the people around you. You have to be clear about what matters, specifically what matters most to you, and you have to be courageous enough to disappoint the right people. And if you're like me, especially I have the genius of enablement, and we enablers, boy, disappointing people, that's the worst thing you could possibly ever do. But let me tell you, if you're going to get better than good, you got to be courageous enough to disappoint the right people. There are 3 truths that I come back to. How do I not let them down if I don't carry what they can't? Especially if they've gone above for me in previous times. That's my struggle. It's a good question, Emily. That's a really good question. So what I would say about that is what you have to remember is everything doesn't exist on a plane. Everything in the world is not equal, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that over time things balance out. I believe that there is a sense of universal justice. I believe, and I believe in a God that is in fact a just God. So I believe that there is, in eternity, there is a balancing of things, but I also believe that we don't see that every day, right? And so I think that it's more important, instead of trying to find ways to repay people all the time, every day, trying to find another way to repay them, that we wait for the moment. And when the moment comes, then we step in, right? But what happens is if we're looking for that moment every day, if we're just waiting for it, waiting to pounce, what happens is a lot of times we activate in a moment where we're not ready. We're not prepared. Maybe emotionally, maybe we're not healed from that wound that we have. Or maybe it's, it's just physically we're not ready for that moment. So what I would say is in that particular situation, look for the moments when you can pay back. Know that you'll know it when it comes, but don't try. Don't exhaust so much energy trying. Gosh, it's such a gift to be able to help people out. And I think that sometimes we diminish that. I'm so bad at this, right? You guys know, a lot of you know me very well. And a lot of you know that I have a really hard time accepting help or accepting gifts, right, from people or accepting things. Like I have a really hard time accepting help from people. And that is, I don't see that as a strength of my character. I see it as a heavy flaw in my character. Because I know that when I get the opportunity to help somebody with no intention of repayment, with no intention that I'll get anything out of that, I know that when I'm able to help that person, that means so much to me. So I guess what I'm saying is don't rob people of the joy of helping selflessly, because that selflessness is a payment in a way that you can't even imagine. So in a way, just by needing help, you're actually giving a great gift to those people. The reason I feel weird accepting help is I feel indebted to them. No. That's totally, I totally understand, Emily, but you just have to remember the universal scale, right? The eternal scale, it's going to work itself out. We don't have control of that. You may have your moment. You may not have your moment. That's okay. It's going to work itself out. But maybe the best thing you can do is sometimes be a little needy. Not always, right? We always want to pick ourselves up. We always want to move on to the next thing. But sometimes it's a gift to be able to get help. And that's okay. Here are 3 truths that I come back to. Number 1, and you have to, these are going to suck, guys. These are going to be hard for you, and they're hard for me, but we have to get through them, and let's move on with our lives. Number 1 is this: clarity in your life will create conflict in your life. Clarity creates conflict, because when you get clear on your values, and when you get clear on how you need to spend your time, and when you get clear on your focus, not everyone is going to like it. Okay? But I want you to remember, we go back to Erwin McManus and Mind Shift, right? Chapter 3 of Mind Shift is, the third Mind Shift is, you can't take everybody with you. Not everybody is going to be there at the end of your growth journey. And if you're a person like me who loves their people, that's hard. That's really hard. But it's true. Haven't you lost somebody in the last 10 years who maybe they were great, maybe they were fine, maybe they were important in a season of your life, but they weren't prepared to take the next step into the better you. And we need to learn how to let those people go gracefully instead of trying to hold on to them, right? Exactly, right? So number 1, clarity creates conflict within yourself, sometimes with other people. Be prepared for that. It's okay. It's natural. We got to stop thinking of conflict as the enemy all the time. That's not it. Number 2, you are not letting people down. When you say, I am taking a stand for doing the things that I need to do that are the right things to do in my life, you are not letting people down. You are showing up in a different way, because your job is not to meet everyone's needs. Even my job, even the neediest meter of all time, I guess. Sometimes I think of myself that way, is that enablement personality that I have. Even the enabliest enabler, not designed to meet everybody's needs, right? It's your job to live in alignment with your design. And so what does that mean for me? Well, yeah, I have the genius of enablement, which means I'm really good at helping people out. I'm really good at standing alongside people. I'm really good at encouraging. But guess what? I also was given the genius of discernment. And that genius of discernment means I'm really good at knowing when it's right and when it's wrong. What smells good and what smells fishy, right? I'm really good at pattern recognition. I'm really good at intuition. And because of that, I know that if I'm really going to live in alignment of my design, if I'm going to live in alignment with that design, I can't spend all that time in my enablement. Genius. I got to use my discernment. Genius to do it right. Because let me tell you, I'd be broke, guys. I would, like, I see people out on the street, like, I would give them everything that I had. I would do it. Patch says, I am definitely the enabliest enabler. I am the enabliest enabler. But that becomes a shadow of itself, you guys. If enablement becomes our reason for living, if helping other people becomes our only reason for living, no matter, like, if it's the right help, the wrong help, just help because we feel like we need to help, what happens is that turns inward on itself and it turns into a need to be needed. And let me tell you right now, there is nothing that is less healthy in your life than a need to be needed. So if you're in that situation, you got to get out. You got to find a way through. You got to get some coaching. Get a coach, get a mentor, get a friend who will hold you accountable, right? The A in IDEA is accountability. Become accountable. Don't get stuck. So number 1, clarity creates conflict. Number 2, you're not letting people down. You're showing up differently, which is actually going to be better for people around you. Number 3, you teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. Let me say it again for the back row. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you always say yes, then people will expect you to say yes. If you never dissent, people will not expect dissent from you. If you're always finding ways to cater to everybody else around you, everyone will see you as a tool to their ends. And that is not what you were made for. That is not the life you were meant to live. Service to other people is the most important thing you can possibly do. But you will teach them how to treat you by what you tolerate. And when you start letting other people's needs override your ability to be your best self, I'm not saying to live your best life. I'm not saying to live your truth. I'm not saying any of that nonsense, any of that psycho babble nonsense that we like to spit out these days. Oh, I got to live my own truth. Well, what is that? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything, right? No, I'm saying to live your best life, to be the person, not that you were in your head that you think you are, right? But like to be the best version of you, the person that you want to become, not in some superficial way, like an identity, identifier, or a label, or you want to change something about yourself, not like that, but like in the real way that you can see a line from what was built into you to the person that makes a change in the world, right? That's what I want for you. You can be dependable or you could be depleted. And guess what? You can be both of those things. You can be dependable and you can be depleted. But here's the thing. Are you really being dependable if you're depleted, right? If you're out of energy, are you really being dependable or are you living other people's lives? You can't do it. You can't live other people's lives. Challenge for this week. I want you to choose one expectation that is not aligned with your design. One. And I want you to either redefine that or I want you to release it. And if you can think of it right now, you don't have to. It can be homework, but if you can think of it right now, you can drop it in the chat. But I want you to choose one expectation that you're either going to redefine or you're going to release it, right? Now, let me tell you this. Sometimes redesigning things works. My example is always this. This is my book, Be Great, out later this year in July. Not in July, sorry, in December. And my example is always this. If you were to look at it on the face of things, what's my design? My design is helping people. My design is helping people in the right way. My design is asking good questions, is pushing people to be better, is increasing the value that the people around me multiply to the world. But how does laundry fit into that design? Well, I'll tell you. Because I've redesigned the way that I do laundry. I've reframed it. Because normally, right, laundry looks like a task. It looks like a chore. But for me, what I started to see is my wife, who works very, very hard outside the house, when she comes home at least one or maybe a couple days a week, right? When she comes home, if the laundry is not there for her to do, right? Because normally that's kind of a thing that she would do. So if the laundry is not there for her to do, and there's never been like an expectation around this. It's not like she told me, hey, why don't you do laundry around the house? But on Mondays, especially, I always try to do whatever laundry there is that I can do. And the reason is when she comes home, if she doesn't have to do that, that's another 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20, however long it takes. That's another amount of time that she has to work towards being her best self. So it actually does come in line with my purpose, with my design. Because you know what? There's going to be a moment in my day when I'm going to go past the laundry room on the way to the kitchen or the front door or something like that. Load of laundry equals load of love. I think let's be careful about the phrasing on that. But yeah, I agree. There's going to be a time when I'm going to walk past the laundry room on my way to the front door or on my way to the kitchen or wherever. And it doesn't take me that much more energy just to drop that load of laundry, right? Doesn't take them that much energy just to swap it from the one place to the other. But that's time that I can give back to somebody else, and that's in line with my design. So that's just an example of how you can redefine some of your obligations, right? So try and find something this week that you can either let go of or that you can redefine in that way. And then the other thing that I was thinking about as I was preparing for today is this, that one of the other big problems that we have in growth when we're dealing with our own growth is that we try to do it. We want to do it alone. It's almost like we feel like it's better. We're somehow better if we get there by ourselves. We have this kind of myth in our heads that of the self-made person, but you're not built for alone. Human beings are not built for alone. We're sort of pack animals. It's not entirely true, but it feels like a sense of empowerment. It does. Sometimes it can feel like a sense of empowerment, but it's a false sense, Emily. Because the fact of the matter is, just like I was telling Bleach earlier, everybody needs help. Every single one of us has got to get help at some point. So, sorry. So it's okay, right? We and even if you don't have a formal team, a lot of times I work with content creators, as you know, and a lot of times they'll tell me, well, I don't have a team. Like, I don't have a video editor and this person. You have a team. You have a team. Your team is anybody who helps bring you back to what matters most, right? And so that could be a friend who is reminding you who you are. It could be a mentor who sees your potential and challenges you to move towards it. It could be a podcast or a live stream like this. It could be a book, right? It could be a number of things. It could be a talk with me, a chat with me, maybe. And if you don't feel like you have that kind of support, I want you to hear me clearly. I would love to be a part of your team, right? And because of this, what do? I create different things. I have a lot of different things. I have a newsletter. It is, over on this side. And it is at andrewburkham.substack.com. I publish that newsletter every Friday or Saturday. Depends. Sometimes Friday gets away from me and it gets to Saturday. But every week, that newsletter comes out. And it's designed to give you another tool, another way to think about your life, another way to get better, another way to push towards your best self. And usually there's a little downloadable that I give away for free with that. By the way, the newsletter is completely free, right? If you want, you can donate, but it's designed to be free. That's content that I give to everybody. And there's a little something that you can download, usually a little worksheet that you can fill out, or just something maybe a mantra you can put up on your mirror or something like that. And guys, I use these things. I find myself going back to some of these tools and using them. But I also created a little something that's going on right now. It's called the Momentum Sprint, and it's a group coaching program, and it's going to launch in June. And what it is 30 days of structure, right, to help you get clarity and to help you get actual movement towards what matters most. And I have just a few spots left in this thing, but I do have a few spots left. And so if you are ready for clarity, if you're ready for support, if you're ready for community, There should be a link that's popping up in chat here every once in a while, I think. Let's see. Yes, the one that just popped up, the momentum. Hang on, let's make sure it works. Yes, here. I'm going to drop it again in the chat for you here. There you go. So that's the link right there if you want to learn more. And as watchers of this live stream on a regular basis, you get a special. I'm actually offering you right now. I'm offering you the price for the people who are my newsletter subscribers. So if you're a newsletter subscriber, you're already getting that price. But this would be it for you too. And I know, guys, listen, I know that this audience that I'm talking to right now, I know that I'm not talking to millionaires. Like, I get it. I understand. But here's my question for you is this is not very much, right? And it's not the only program, right? So if you don't want to work with me, that's totally fine. But my question for you is, when are you going to start investing in yourself? When are you going to stop investing in other people and start investing in yourself, right? That's something really important that I started doing a couple of years ago. And one of the reasons that, in addition to, and I will always offer the vast majority of everything that I do for free, but one of the reasons that I offer these paid opportunities is not just because, I need more money, give me more money. I mean, who doesn't need more money? But that's not the point. The point is that sometimes when we make that investment, when we make that monetary investment, we work a little bit harder for it. And so sometimes making that momentary financial sacrifice, that puts us in a whole different mindset. And so that's the reason I do it. So if you're ready for that, if you're ready for that kind of clarity, if you want a community, it's a group coaching plan. If you're ready for that, just hit that link in chat. I would love to talk with you more about it. It's not an automatic pay thing and go. I always talk with everybody before to make sure it's going to be a fit for them. I need to invest more, but I've started to the last few months investing myself instead of depleting myself into multiple other endeavors. I love it. I love it, Emily. Keep investing in yourself. I know it's showing great results already, and it's only going to get better. So keep doing what you're doing. I love that. So that's about it for the day, guys. But let me leave you kind of with this, right? So I just want you to know that you don't have to keep living misaligned, and you don't have to keep chasing things that are draining you. You have the right to build something that is meaningful, and you do not have to do it alone. I want you to find your edge. I want you to find that clarity. And I want you to find your people. Because when you do, what will happen is you'll stop just surviving the day. And you will start building something that lasts. And if this is hitting home today, so this week the newsletter that's coming out is called Stop Chasing Rabbits. And it's why burnout isn't always about workload. And this is going to dive deeper into this. So even deeper than I can go in an hour here with you. It will include, like I said, there's always I always like to do a free gift with that newsletter. This week, we're doing a priority clarity checklist that helps you kind of isolate that most important thing. And of course, the link to subscribe to that is always right up here. It's andrewburkham.substack.com. You can check me out on YouTube. You can check me out on Instagram, all that stuff at Andrew Burkham. And between that kind of that newsletter and that momentum sprint that I'm talking about, really you're going to get a toolkit that will give you what you need to stop assigning tasks to yourself and start releasing yourself into the work that matters. And if you are wondering where to start, right? Start with the framework. Start with identity, discipline, execution, and accountability. This is a coaching tool that I use, but it's not just a coaching tool. It's a way of building your life. When you step into alignment, you start living it. You reconnect to the identity, which is who you are and who you're becoming, what you're built for. You start to build disciplines that are like daily things that you do that support your purpose. You start to execute, which means you take the big steps. You make the big choices from clarity and not from chaos. And you will surround yourself with the accountability that you need to stay on track. This is what we're doing in that sprint. This is what we do right here on this stream. It is available to you. So, Emily, thank you. I appreciate you. And I want to thank you all for showing up today, guys. I really, really appreciate you. please go check out the newsletter, andrewburkham.substack.com. Check me out on YouTube at Andrew Burkham. I'm working on a new series of videos for that channel as well. Please, you can always, of course, follow here on Twitch. And listen, guys, I want to thank you for showing up for yourself today. And I will remind you, as I always do,